So now it takes 2, 3, 4 hours to go to the groundwater.
Business trends.
Just like Waka Kino Kio and Ekino Rescue. What I say we should fall for our children fisher. They don't want our children fisher. They cannot damage our children fisher. If they love the citizen and they don't want riot, police or soldier, nobody can stop us. Because now where we get our daily bread from? None of the
Good evening from the News and Current Affairs Department at the Blaze Communications Network Incorporated. Welcome to News Point. 45 minutes of news about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of our one world. On today, August 12, 2026, I'm Oliver McIntosh presenting. Binti Helens, chairman of the National Elections Commission, Jeniton Wida, discloses that the country will feature biometric voter enrollment and verification in the 2029 general and presidential elections. Information Minister Jeremy Pia reveals that tension at the Sulamba border in Lofa County have eased following high-level engagements between Liberia and Guinea. Presiding judge of the non-judicial circuit court in Banga, Joe Bacon, raises alarm over the overcrowding and poor condition at the Banga Central Prison in Bon County, and away from whom at least 44 people have died after a ferry sank on Lake Karibat in Zimbabwe on Tuesday, according to police. This the news bulletin spoils all package on today's presentation of the program. But first, Stephen Talu and the news bulletin. Stephen, good evening.
Good evening, Oliver. The chairman of the National Elections Commission, Jeniton Widow, has disclosed that Liberia's 2029 general and presidential elections will feature biometric voter enrollment and verification as part of efforts to strengthen the electoral process and prevent fraud. Speaking to State Radio on Wednesday, Chairman Widow said his priority is to ensure that the 2029 elections are conducted peacefully, revealing plans to verify the electoral roll and ensure it meets international standards before the elections. Chairman Widow explained that biometric verification will take place before voters are allowed to cast their ballots, with fingerprints as serving as a key means of authenticating voters. He says system is expected to help prevent multiple voting by determining whether a person has already participated in the election. Meanwhile, Chairman Widow clarified that the establishment of additional electoral seats falls under the responsibility of the National Election Commission, while the legislature is constitutionally responsible for determining the threshold following a national census. At the same time, the NEC chairman has proposed increasing candidate registration fees, suggesting raising the presidential nomination fee from 2,500 United States dollars to 10,000 USD, vice presidential fees to 7,000 United States senatorial fees to 5,000 and representative fees to $3,000. Information Minister Jeremy Pia says tensions at the Solombo border in Lofa County between Guinea military personnel and Liberia's joint security forces have eased following high-level engagements between Liberia and Guinea. Speaking Tuesday at the Ministry of Information's regular press briefing in Monrovia, Minister Pia said representatives of the two countries met on August 10 and agreed to remain calm and exercise restraint while diplomatic efforts continue. Minister Pia said both sides reaffirmed the longest-standing relationship between Liberia and Guinea as neighboring countries and stressed the importance of unity and peaceful coexistence. He said the situation at the Solon border is now peaceful, calm, and stable. Meanwhile, Minister Pierre disclosed that the Liberian government is engaging authorities in Cote d'Ivoire over the arrest of the Arabid Atlantic vessel by foreign authorities. He said diplomatic efforts are on the way to facilitate the vessel's return to Liberia, where it is expected to undergo further investigation. Minister Pierre assured that the government remains engaged with the relevant authorities and will continue using dialogue and diplomatic channels to resolve both matters. The presiding judge of the non-judicial circuit court in Banga, Joe Bacon, has raised alarm over overcrowding and poor conditions at the Banga Central Prison and Bon County. Delivering his charge sheet during the August term of court on Monday, Judge Bacon said the prison, which was built to accommodate about 130 inmates, is currently holding approximately 414 people. According to George Bacon, the overcrowding is putting additional pressure on the prison's already limited facilities and creating serious challenges for the welfare of inmates. The Ninth Judicial Circuit Judge has called on the Ministry of Justice and the Bon County Legislative Caucus to urgently intervene by addressing a shortage of space and providing basic facilities needed to improve conditions at the prison. Judge Bacon urged authorities to take the situation seriously and take concrete steps to address the overcrowding and improve the welfare of inmates. Meanwhile, Bon County Senator Prince Moy has pledged to work with relevant authorities to find an amicable solution to the conjoined. The European Union has turned over several pieces of equipment to the National Center for the Coordination of Response Mechanism in Monrovia to strengthen Liberia's capacity to prevent conflicts and respond to emerging threats. Speaking at the handover ceremony, Madam Enibonga Momba, representing the German Embassy and the European Union, said the donation demonstrates the partners' continued commitment to Liberia's peace and security. Madam Momba said the support goes beyond providing equipment, describing it as an investment in Liberia's ability to analyze information, coordinate timely responses, improve communication, and strengthen national peace and security efforts. Meanwhile, Dr. Nat Walker, representing the newly accredited ECOWAS ambassador to Liberia, says strengthening the NCCRM is important to Liberia's efforts to prevent conflict and protect national security. Dr. Walker said the support will help the center identify emerging threats, analyze information, and coordinate timely responses. For his part, the NCCRM Executive Director Arthur Bestman said the new equipment will significantly strengthen the institution's operational capacity. He disclosed that when the current management took over in May 2024, the center faced challenges, including limited mobility, inadequate information technology equipment, and other resource constraints. The Central Bank of Liberia has held a one-day media orientation in Monrovia ahead of its upcoming conference on the resolution of non-performing loans in Liberia's banking sector. The orientation held Wednesday, August 12, was aimed at helping journalists to better understand non-performing loans and prepare for the broader conference. Non-performing loans are generally referred to loans on which borrowers have failed to make a required payment for a significant period. Speaking during the program, Deputy Information Minister Daniel Sano described the orientation as an important opportunity for media institutions to strengthen their understanding and management of communication at the conference. Minister Sano commended the Central Bank of Liberia for its effort to improve communication and provide journalists with greater knowledge of issues affecting the country's financial sector. He described the one-day orientation as educative and insightful, noting that improved understanding among media practitioners could contribute to better public information on financial sector issues. The president of the Federation of Liberian Youth, Dukle Jala, has challenged the Liberian government to move beyond speeches and symbolic engagement with young people and take concrete action to address the challenges facing Liberian youth. Jala made the call Wednesday, August 12, during the National Youth Government Dialogue at Monrovia City Hall held as part of activities marking the International Youth Day. He said young people have for too long been promised opportunities and consulting only after major government decisions have already been made. The flag president said young unemployment, limited opportunities for graduates, mob violence, and declining public trust are interconnected challenges that require more than isolated programs. He stressed that younger Liberians must be meaningfully included in decisions affecting their present rather than being treated as leaders of tomorrow. Jala warned against another cycle of dialogue without measurable results. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia says it is strengthening gender inclusion in its programs as part of efforts to promote transparency, accountability, and a fight against corruption. Speaking on the Center's National Integrity Bidding and Anti-Corruption Program, the institution's lead chairperson for gender and inclusion, Clara Mara, said gender mainstreaming is being integrated into Center's programs to ensure that the fight against corruption is inclusive and provides equal opportunities for all. Mara said her work focuses on examining the relationship between gender and corruption while raising public awareness about the impact of corruption on women, particularly women with disabilities. As she believes greater awareness can help vulnerable groups participate more effectively in efforts to combat corruption and promote inclusion. Meanwhile, Center's coordinator of counterfeit officers, Ambrose Sudue, said the organization is implementing its national integrity bidding and anti-corruption program in 7 counties. Sudue said the program is aimed at strengthening public institutions through strategic engagement, community participation, and anti-corruption dialogue. Criminal Court 8 of the First Judicial Circuit Court in Monrovia, that's Mossorado County, has postponed the trial of Peter Bonjala, who is facing charges of gang rape, statutory rape, and kidnapping. The trial was scheduled for Wednesday, August 12, but prosecutors to assign George Wisse, Alfonso Wisse, that the alleged victim was not mentally prepared to testify. According to prosecutors, Councillor Kavina Momolu and Councillor Juma Conley, the alleged victim is experiencing symptoms associated with post-traumatic stress disorder and needs psychological counseling before appearing in court. The prosecutors say a counselor recommended at least 2 days of counseling beginning Wednesday and continuing through Thursday. Prosecutors therefore asked the court to postpone the trial until Friday, August 14 at 10 o'clock a.m. Defense lawyers criticize what they describe as repeated delays, but did not object to the continuance. They urged the court to ensure that prosecutors are fully prepared to present their evidence on Friday. The judge warned that no further unnecessary delays would be tolerated and said legal measures could be taken if the alleged victim remains unavailable. The United States government has deported 5 Liberian nationals after they were convicted and completed prison sentences for various criminal offenses, according to Liberia Immigration Service. The 5 deportees arrived in Liberia on Wednesday, August 12, through Rabat International Airport, where they were formally received by officials of the Liberia Immigration Service. The list said the individuals are already served their respective prison sentences in the United States before being repatriated. The offenses included aggravated felony, alien smuggling, immigration violation, drug possession, and conspiracy to commit a fraud. The immigration authorities did not disclose the identities of the 5 deportees, the specific offenses committed by each person, or the length of their prison sentences. According to Lays, the deportations are part of U.S. enforcement measures involving foreign nationals who have been convicted of criminal offenses and completed their sentences. Following their arrival at the Rabat International Airport, the 5 Liberians were turned over to the Liberia Immigration Service for processing in accordance with Liberia's immigration procedures. And away from Liberia, at least 44 people have died after the ferry sank on Lake Kariba in Zimbabwe on Tuesday, according to police. The ferry was reportedly designed to carry 90 passengers and 5 crew members, but a lake official said about 120 people, including 12 children, were on board when the vessel sank. Police said the ferry was struck by a strong wave and overturned, and eyewitnesses also reported that the vessel was traveling in bad weather and may have been hit by a wave, causing its engines to shut down. President Emerson Mnangagwa has declared a state of disaster as such, and rescue operations continue. Authorities say 7 people have so far been rescued while recovery efforts remain on the way. Blaze News.
Indeed, many thanks to Stephen Taluded for the news bulletin. It's a regular featured on Newspoint. 45 minutes of news about Liberia, Africa, and the rest of our one global village. Stories to further on today's presentation of the program. Chairman of the National Elections Commission, Jeneton Wida, discloses that the country will feature biometric voter enrollment and verification in the 2029 general and presidential elections. Information Minister Jalime Pia reveals that tension at the Sulamba border in Lofa County have eased following high-level engagements between Liberia and Guinea. Presiding Judge of the Non-Judiciary Circuit Court in Banga, Joe Bacon raises alarm over the overcrowding and poor condition at the Banga Central Prison in Bon County. At least 44 people have died after a ferry sank on Lake Karibat in Zimbabwe on Tuesday, according to the BBC. Still ahead, the voices of our newsmakers post or package on today's presentation of the program. We'll go strictly into our first story. The chairman of the National Elections Commission, Jeneton Wida, has disclosed that Liberia's 2029 general presidential elections will feature biometric voter enrollment and verification as part of efforts to strengthen the electoral process and prevent fraud. Speaking to State Radio on Wednesday, Chairman Wida said his priorities is to ensure that the 2029 elections are conducted peacefully, revealing plans to verify the electoral roll and ensure it meets international standards before the election. Chairman Wida explained that biometric verification will take place before voters are allowed to cast their ballots, with fingerprints serving as a key means of authenticating voters.
Use this opportunity to tell about this country now. I'm a human being. I want to do my best because peace in this country is a priority. And I want the people to know that they won't vote 2029. God deal with the country, give up good health, long life in 2029. That they won't vote in 2029, that they will stand around the building, the precinct, afraid that somebody will tell them. We are putting into measures. Number one, we are going to verify the electoral law of 2020. When we verify the law is international standard. We will update that rule with those who turn 18 and those who did not have the opportunity to register in 2020. But in the event that we find our rule to be below what international electoral practice has said, we debunk the rule and carry on new registration. And what would that be? It would be biometric enrollment of voters using Starlink across the country. And on election day, there will also be verification before you vote. I mean, there will be a depart. 2029 will depart from you going, you call your name, and they got to write in the rule. There will be verification. Verify where you put your fingerprint and your data account that qualify you for a ballot. You go and give your registration card, and then you put your thumbprint on the verify and your data account, and that is the basis for you being given a ballot. And once you do that, you want biometric verification. But when you say biometric verification, and once you do that, and you leave from station 1 and go to Logan Town, to another station to go for the system will tell you, no, you already voted. And double registration, double 40 or so. And number one task of the commission is the electoral reform, the law that governs the electoral process. There are a lot of issues, the electoral law, coming from funding to the commission, how funding is provided by central government to the commission. You talk about the issue of the tenure of magistrate, the electoral magistrate, the who already conduct the election. You talk about the issue of whether we should be the 30% that is international community apartment that they requesting of political party leadership for women. You talk about there are a lot of issues that are involved. And I want to say, use this opportunity to tell what the country now. I'm a human being. I want to do.
Meanwhile, Chairman Widot clarified that the establishment of additional electoral seats falls on the responsibility of NEC, while the legislature is constitutionally responsible for determining the threshold following a national census.
We have not been written by the legislature when there's such like we not well, so we wouldn't really want to go. But let me be clarification. The issue of apportioning seats is a responsibility of the commission, not the legislature. Yes. The constitution gave the legislature a mandate. That mandate is to set the threshold, and that comes in when there's a census. When the census is conducted, the result of the census is verified, is ratified by both the lower and the upper house. When that ratification takes place, the electoral commission is informed by the legislature that the census conducted, the result is this. This is the population of the country. The commission then write the legislature to set a threshold so that it can go on with its responsibility of delimitation of constituency boundary, and then the register the voter therein, because that's what the law says. Yes, sure. The legislature shall set the threshold. The commission shall delimit constituency boundary and register voter therein. That is it. We have no indication that there was a ratification or any census that took place. There's no information available to the commission. Until that is done, then before we could call the issue of threshold. And when the threshold is set, then the commission will proceed to delimit constituency boundary based on the results of the census. We have not done that. So for me to be hearing you that the legislature is setting is a pushing, we look forward to that. Let me make clear here. The commission does not make laws. For District 17, District 10. That people be, and it will also help the government to raise money for the election.
Election
financing also help. If they have 10 presidential candidates, with each of them paying for 10,000, and the vice president paying something like 7,000 or 7,500. You got 1,500. You raise that money. I'm not gonna just take that and get to the commission. They'll be looking for addition. And you get how many? 75 people running for it. 150 people running for representing there, and they pay 3,000 each. That's good. That's about 150 times 3,000. We have not been.
That's the voice of the chairman of the National Elections Commission, Geneton Widot, there speaking. Information Minister Jeremy Pia says tensions at the Sulamba border in Lofa County between Guinea military personnel and Liberia's joint security forces have eased following high-level engagements between Liberia and Guinea. Speaking Tuesday at the Ministry of Information's regular press briefing in Monrovia, Minister Pia said representatives of the two countries met on August 10 and agreed to remain calm and exercise restraint while diplomatic efforts continue. Minister Pia said both sides reaffirmed the long-standing relationship between Liberia and Guinea as neighboring countries and stressed the importance of unity and peaceful coexistence.
The government of Liberia acknowledges acting in Lofa. The tension arose at the buffer zone between the Guinean military personnel and personnel of the Liberian Joint Security Forces relative to the location of checkpoints. In an effort to quiet the tension, on the following day, August 10, 2026, a meeting was held at the buffer zone between a high-level Guinean delegation and the Liberian Joint Security. At the meeting, it was agreed that Liberia and Guinea are neighboring countries with long-standing relations and should remain united. Hence, there was no need for security personnel from either side to engage in confrontation. It was agreed that the parties should remain calm and exercise restraint while we all strive to work towards a peaceful resolution. The situation there is being closely monitored by the National Security Council, and the appropriate diplomatic redress is being pursued. Presently, the situation at the Solomba border area is peaceful, calm, and stable. The government of Liberia acknowledges acting in Lofa. The tension arose at the buffer zone between the Guinean military personnel and personnel of the Liberian Joint Security Forces relative to the location of checkpoints. In an effort to quiet the tension, on the following day, August 10, 2026, a meeting was held at the buffer zone between a high-level Guinean delegation and the Liberian Joint Security. At the meeting, it was agreed that Liberia and Guinea are neighboring countries with long-standing relations and should remain united. Hence, there was no need for security personnel from either side to engage in confrontation. It was agreed that the parties should remain calm and exercise restraint while we all strive to work towards a peaceful resolution. The situation there is being closely monitored by the National Security Council, and the appropriate diplomatic redress is being pursued. Presently, the situation at the Solomba border area is peaceful, calm, and stable. The government of Liberia.
Minister Pia disclosed that the government is engaging authorities in Cote d'Ivoire over the arrest of the Arabi Alante vessel by Ivorian authorities. He said diplomatic efforts are on the way to facilitate the vessel's return to Liberia, where it is expected to undergo further investigation.
The vessel RB Alante de Folk. The vessel RB Alante de Folk that was within the coastal waters of Liberia and evaded arrest by the Liberian National Coast Guard has been arrested by Ivorian authorities. Liberia is currently in contact with the Ivorian government, including even at the highest level, for the return of the vessel to Monrovia for investigation. It has been established that a fishing vessel from Liberia went out to sea to the RB Alante. An investigation is being conducted by the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority to determine the facts surrounding the Liberian fishing vessel going to the RB Alante. We commend members of the Joint Security Investigative Task Force for their professionalism, integrity, and unwavering commitment to the rule of law. The Joint National Security Investigative Task Force will keep the public informed about the status of the ongoing investigations. OIC Fitzgerald Biago. Based on an investigative report submitted to the President by the Ministry of Justice relative to the officer in charge, DPC Fitzgerald TM Diago, and reports linking a vehicle connected to the narcotics suspect to his office, the President has relieved DCP Biago of his position as OIC of the LDEA and has indefinitely suspended him from the Liberian National Police for ethical transgression and has ordered that he be subjected to a more detailed investigation. In this regard, an independent special administrative and ethics review committee will be established to investigate whether Biago's conduct violated the Constitution of Liberia, the National Code of Conduct, the LMP administrative instructions, the LDEA professional standards, or any other applicable law or regulation. Members of the committee will include representatives of the Ministry of Justice, the Civil Service Agency, the Office of the Ombudsman, the vessel RB Alante the Folk. The vessel RB Alante the Folk that was within the coastal waters.
That's the voice of Liberia's Information Minister Jeremy Piades speaking. The presiding judge of the Ninth Judicial Circuit Court in Banga, Joe Bakons, has raised a land overcrowding and poor condition at the Banga Central Prison in Bonkante, delivering his charge during the August turn of court on Monday. George Bacon said the prison, which was built to accommodate about 130 inmates, is currently holding approximately 440 people. According to George Bacon, the overcrowding is putting additional pressure on the prison already limited facilities and creating serious challenges for the welfare of inmates.
In face, the justice system is the full prison facility in the various counties and the limited spaces therein that have caused all prison compounds within the country to be congested with inmates, which situation has led to the outbreak of some communicable diseases and other category of sicknesses in these prison facility on a regular basis, which situation has led to the death of some inmates over the past year, even up to current as well. This unbearable condition violates the protocol governing the rights of inmates, to which Liberia is a signatory. We therefore want to use this medium to call on the Minister of Justice, the national government, to make swift intervention by making available resources for the construction of more and better prison facilities throughout the country, so as to ease the many challenges faced by prison authorities in managing inmates within the various facilities under difficult circumstances. For example, Upper Beginning Central Prison of the 7th Judicial Circuit was initially a facility privately owned by some German nationals or merchants used for business purposes. And prior to the departure from Liberia, they surrendered the facility to the government of Liberia in 1964 upon the request of the late President William P.S. Tubman to be used as a prison facility to accommodate about 47 inmates then. But the facility currently hosts more than 100 inmates, which makes it overcrowded.
So I want to say the legislative caucus will be.
That's the presiding judge of the Ninth Judicial Circuit Court in Banga County, Joe Bacon, there raising alarm over overcrowding and poor conditions at the Banga Central Prison in County. At this time, with John Stephen Talu, he comes in with the passion of last post.
Liberian young star Alvin Dennis has joined Discoveries FC on loan from Demoa United for the upcoming season. The move will provide the Grand Basel MVP with an opportunity to gain valuable playing time, continue his development, and further strengthen his game through regular competition. Dennis remains contracted to the Moas United and is expected to return to the club following his loan spell. The young player has also reunited with former teammate Richmond Blair, who is currently with Discovery FC. The Moas United has wished Dennis the best during his time with Discovery FC as he looks to make the most of the opportunity and return to the club a stronger player. Determined Girls FC secure a narrow 1-0 victory over War Girls FC in the first leg of the Betamax Champions Cup Women's category. Bendu Sila scored the decisive goal to give Determined Girls a slim advantage heading into the second leg. The result leaves the tie fairly balanced, with War Girls facing needing to overturn the 1-goal deficit in the return fixture. Determined Girls will now look to protect their advantage and complete the job in the second leg. The return fixture is expected to determine which side advances after what promises to be another competitive encounter. And lastly, Liberian decent forward Martin Shuri has been charged by the Football Association in England over alleged breaches of its betting regulations. The 20-year-old Everton attacker is accused of placing 61 bets on football matches between November 20, 2024 and February 12, 2026. According to the FA, Sharif has been charged on a rule E1.2 and has until Monday, August 17, 2026 to respond to the allegations. Sherman was born in Liberia and joined Everton's youth setup in 2019 before progressing through to the club's ranks. And that's the sports.
Thanks to Stephen Talo, therefore the Passion of Last Post is a regular feature on News Point, Utekomo Development. The European Union has turned over several pieces of equipment to the National Center for the Coordination and Response Mechanism in Monrovia to strengthen Liberia's capacity to prevent conflicts and respond to emerging threats. Speaking at the handover ceremony, Madam Inobom Moma, representing the German embassy and the European Union, said the donation demonstrates the partners' continued commitment to Liberia's peace and security. Madam Moman said the support goes beyond providing equipment, describing it as an investment in Liberia's ability to analyze information, coordinate timely responses, improve communication, and strengthen national peace and security efforts.
This occasion reflects the EU, Germany, and Denmark's long-standing partnership with Liberia. Specifically for Germany, this relationship has continued to deepen since the reopening of the German embassy in Monrovia in 2005. And throughout this partnership, peace building and institutional strengthening have remained central priorities for all the partners. Today's handover builds on this commitment through the ECOWAS Peace, Security and Governance Project commissioned by Germany and co-financed by the European Union and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Denmark. Today's event represents far more than the delivery of equipment. It is an investment in Liberia's capacity to prevent conflict before it escalates. By strengthening the operational readiness of the NCCRM, we are enhancing the country's ability to identify emerging risks, coordinate timely responses, and reinforce a more resilient national peace and security architecture. We commend the governments of Liberia and the NCCRM for their continued leadership in strengthening national conflict prevention mechanisms. Since its establishment, the Center has become an important platform for translating early warning information into coordinated action by bringing together government institutions and other key stakeholders. Its role is especially significant at this moment, following the launch of Liberia's National Security Strategy 2026 to 2036 by His Excellency President Joseph Boakai. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, Liberia has adopted a security vision that places human security, resilience, and public trust at the center of national security. Achieving this vision requires strong institutions capable of transforming early warning into effective early action, and the NCCRM is central to that effort. The equipment being handed over today will improve the NCCRM's analytical, coordination, communication, information management, and operational capacities, enabling it to fulfill its mandate more effectively while strengthening collaboration with national, regional, and international partners. This occasion reflects
Meanwhile, Dr. Donald Walker, representing the newly accredited ECOWAS ambassador to Liberia, says strengthening the NCCRM is important to Liberia's efforts to prevent conflict and protect national security.
Let me begin by saying it's a pleasure to join you today for this important handover ceremony and to witness another practical expression of the partnership between the European Union, ECOWAS, and Liberia in advancing peace, security, and good governance. The strengthening of the NCCRM is particularly significant because effective conflict prevention begins with the ability to identify emerging risks early, analyze them accurately, share information effectively, and coordinate them timely. These capacities are essential to preventing localized tensions and emerging threats from developing into broader crises. The NCCRM has an important role to play in Liberia's national peace and security architecture. An early warning and early response coordination mechanism, it provides an important bridge between information, analysis, and action. Its effectiveness therefore contributes not only to national stability, but also to the broader regional peace and security architecture of ECOWAS. From the ECOWAS perspective, we attach considerable importance to strengthening national early warning and response mechanism. The effectiveness of the ECOWAS Early Warning and Response Network, ECOWAN, ultimately depends on strong national systems capable of generating credible information, identifying trends and vulnerabilities, and facilitating appropriate responses at the earliest stage possible. We therefore hope that the equipment being handed over today significantly enhance the NCCRM's ability to perform these functions, improving its information management, communication, analysis, and coordination capacities, and enabling it to respond more effectively to emerging challenges.
For his part, NCCRM Executive Director Arthur Bestman said the new equipment will significantly strengthen the institution's operational capacity.
May 2024, the institution faced significant operational challenges. We had very limited mobility, inadequate IT equipment, other critical resource constraints that hindered our effective function. Recognizing these challenges, our team on May 2024 to Ms. Ladian Sherford, then the GRC Technical Advisor for Early Warning and Early Response, to revive discussions on potential support between the GRC and NCCRM. On May 29, 2024, Ms. Sherford responded by requesting a Zoom meeting to discuss the way forward and establish new timelines for our cooperation. Subsequently, during our meeting on June 4, 2024, we were informed by Sean, the component lead, that it was impossible to support the NCCRM at the time due to budget constraints, but was still committed supporting NCCRM in the future. Our engagement continued. On October 17, 2024, I received an email from Madam Ruth Adjoa Tripon, who has assumed the role of GRZ Technical Advisor for Early Warning and Early Response, replacing Lydian. She requested that we submit a list of our priority equipment needs. We promptly did, and another virtual meeting was held to further discuss the proposed support in October 2025. After several follow-ups with the project team in Abuja, we were delighted to receive confirmation on May 25, 2026 that a budget of Euro 30,000 had been approved to procure essential equipment for NCCRM. We were requested to revive our priority list to align with the approved budget, which we did immediately. Today marks the successful conclusion of that journey. We are honored and grateful to be here today, ready to receive the equipment, which will significantly strengthen the operational capacity of NCCRM. These pieces of equipment will enhance our ability to monitor, analyze, and coordinate response to human security threats, thereby contributing to peace, stability, resilience in Liberia and across the Edward region. When the current management took over the leadership.
Finally, from the news team this evening, Central Bank of Liberia has held a one-day media orientation in Monrovia ahead of its upcoming conference on the resolution of non-performing loans in Liberia's banking sector. The orientation held Wednesday, August 12, was aimed at helping journalists better understand non-performing loans and prepared for the broader conference. Speaking during the program, Deputy Information Minister Daniel Sano described the orientation as an important opportunity for media institutions to strengthen their understanding and management of communication ahead of the conference.
This is what the distinction, the commitment, and the fortitude that you bring to the job. And I see the governor is doing extremely well here to put our monetary system into place of the country. We're very excited about that. This opportunity for us who help to manage the supervised communication for the government of Liberia is very important, because every now and then we are confronted with issues. You know, when you are Minister of Information, whether you're Deputy or the Minister, people expect you to do everything. And you say, oh, but the central bank implementing policy, how to consult the governor. But the Minister of Information is not aware of it. So we want to encourage other entities of the government to follow suit. And we will also be looking forward to hosting the team from the central bank at the government press briefing the other day. Technical team one day, the presentation they did on the request from the bank for the permission to print additional banknotes. I'm saying additional because when I listen to the technician, he says, we're not printing new banknotes, we only printing additional banknotes. So I said, oh, okay, so I know they want that. So it was good. It was good, it was very helpful. But I think
Central Bank of Liberia there held a one-day orientation in Monrovia ahead of its upcoming conference on the resolution of non-performing loans in Liberia's banking sector, when the Deputy Information Minister Daniel Sando explained to journalists. With this, we come to the end of today's edition of News Point. It has been a production of the News and Current Affairs Department at the Blaze Communications Network Incorporated. Before we go, a recap of the major stories we followed today. Chairman of the National Elections Commission, Jonathan Wida, discloses that the country will feature biometric voter enrollment and verification into 2029 general and presidential elections. Information Minister Jeremy Pia reveals that tension at the Sulamba border in Lofa County have eased following high-level engagements between Liberia and Guinea. Presiding judge of the non-judicial Sacred Court in Banga, Joe Bacon, raises alarm over the overcrowded and poor conditions at the Banga Central Prison in Bang County. And away from home, at least 44 people have died after a ferry sank on Lake Karibat in Zimbabwe on Tuesday, according to the BBC. Thanks to all of you for your listening room. Many thanks to Stephen Talu, who was here with the news bulletin, The Passion of Life Sports. Clifton Rain inside the control and handle the technical aspect of the program. From the other entire production team here at the Blaze Communications Network Incorporated, my name is Oliver McIntosh, our presenter. Good evening. Bye-bye.